Our guest today is a nurse practitioner that specializes in aesthetics. This provider is so experienced, and I'm so excited to speak to her today. Please help me to introduce Dr. Bonnie Marting, with a G.
With a G, yes. Marting.
Nice, nice. Thank you so much for coming today.
No, I'm very honored to be here.
Nice, nice, nice. So let's jump right into it. Tell us, how did you get started in the aesthetic industry?
Okay, without dating myself too much, I think in the 90s, the late 90s, I applied for a position as a sclerotherapist with a plastic surgeon, because that's just something that I've always been interested in. And everything was evolving at that time. You're not going to do veins all day, you're going to do some other things. Back then we had collagen, which lasted like maybe a week, but it was a really good product. And Botox was out. It wasn't FDA approved for anything aesthetic yet, but Botox was out, so you just kind of ordered Botox and you ordered the collagen, and then you started just doing that. And it just evolved. In 2003 and 4, I believe, we got our first hyaluronic acid fillers in the country. So that changed the game quite a bit, because the hyaluronic acid was more relative to the actual human being rather than the collagen.
Nice, nice. So tell us, like, I'm in your office right now, and it's beautiful, and I went through.
Thank you.
Yes. How did you get from really being in the industry so early, because, you know, it was so many things people didn't trust, people didn't know, to get to this point?
So what I did was, when I was actually doing the veins, I joined what was then the North American Society of Phlebology, which now is the American College of Phlebology. And they had dermatologic surgery as their journal. So I would start looking at the journal and see what new things were being investigated and being studied. Went to a few meetings. The first Botox meeting I ever went to was in Chicago, and I want to say it was probably 1998. And I think Timothy Flynn he's from Louisiana, he was running this meeting, and there were probably like 15 people in the room. It wasn't big at all, it was very small. And back then with Botox, they thought, oh, you have to be very delicate, you have to talk nicely to it, you can't shake it, you can't do anything. I was going to do anything with it now. But back then it was so new, we just didn't know anything about it. So that's how I started learning the anatomy and learning what a lot of the providers around the country would do. And then in the journals, they would have meetings at different places, so I would try to attend those.
Nice, nice. Now you have so many like books out right now and articles and journals. What made you want to go into like the research part of it and really adding that value back? It's fun. I used to love to acquire different articles, and I would quote from them and then put in my take on that. I did a book on skincare because so many people don't understand that the most important thing that you can do is use a retinoid. It really is the most important thing. So I wrote a book on that. It was in 2011. But I did also a lot of training manuals for estheticians and for nurses and different people, that just to make sure they're doing the right thing and realizing what they could possibly achieve with, a little more education. Nice, nice. And how much the value that's added to the community is amazing.
It's been fun. So I've been invited to lecture different things for years. And that's how I probably got part of some of the groups I've been in, which like the Gen Now and the Allergan trainers, because I have been out there for so long, but doing those research things also.
Nice, nice. Being on I understand you're on the board, right, for a pharmaceutical company?
I was on advisory board for Allergan for a few times, because they change. They change kind of locations, and they change who they're going to use and how busy that provider is and what they do and what innovations they've come up with. So I've been on a few times, and then I want to say in 2016 or 17, Galderma had purchased Valiant and their aesthetic products, and so then they started this thing called Gen Now, which was an advisory group also, and that was back then Nestle owned them, so it was kind of fun. So we'd go to the New York Shield Center and just be able to spread the expertise and the training around the country.
Wow, that's really cool. Well, how did that experience impact your career, do you say?
I will say I learned a lot from the colleagues that were there, because they're all amazing, so many amazing colleagues, and they've had different experiences, and I'm not sure I took a whole lot back to my practice, because I'm very much of a hands-on and a one-on-one kind of thing, but it really gave a great experience, and I think I was able to deliver a lot of valuable information also.
Nice, nice. Being a trainer, a national trainer, how has that really, have you found like that it helped a lot? Like how has that helped your career by chance?
Because whenever you're in a new office, you see a lot of new things, and you see things that work, and you see things that don't.
Yeah.
But when you're able to see all these, cool things that someone's doing, I'm like, okay, well, that's something I have to take back.
Yeah.
Or, this is an area that I need to warn people about because they're doing this wrong. And there's just a lot of things that you learn every time you go into a place, and most of it's really good, but some of it is a little bit like, okay, I don't want to have that happen in my office, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So the training has been phenomenal, and it's been something that I love doing, and I think that I've stayed in touch with a lot of my people that I've trained, because if I train privately, they're allowed to contact me for 3 months with any question they want to.
Wow.
Or it ends up being years, because
Yeah.
what about this? We didn't talk about this too much, what about that? So they'll get back to you about that.
What advice would you give to injectors when you train them? Because I'm sure you see a lot of different things, right, that's happening. You're like, oh, this is not right. What advice would you give to someone kind of wanting to break into the industry, or even in the industry, and they want to get their mark?
The one thing that is the most important is anatomy, and there are so many cadaver classes out today. It sounds kind of gruesome, but honestly, injecting, learning where the nerves are, learning where the vessels are. There's like this, for instance, there's an angular artery that typically will come up this way, but there's a 30% aberration where it might come this way. And so if you're going to hit that, you can cause a lot of damage and cause not only skin necrosis, but you can cause blindness, you can cause a lot of creepy things that the more injectors are out there, the more we are seeing. So the anatomy is the most important thing to learn. So we always go over that when we first train, make sure that we understand and maybe draw on a patient or whatever to see where the vessels are supposedly, because there's always, everybody's different, especially if they've had a surgery in the past and you really have no idea what the vessels are, but you have to be very cautious. And then just baby steps, do things that are safer first, like doing cheeks is a little bit safer than, say, nasolabial folds, which we don't do that much anymore anyway, because once we fill up the cheek, everything's good. Products that are safer than other products. Can you aspirate? Aspirate is really important, so we train on a lot of that, but the anatomy is the most important thing. Secondly, the second most important thing is what's appropriate, because the whole presentation, like you've got a great presentation here, the whole presentation is important, not looking at somebody's cheek or their lips or under eye all by itself. The presentation is really important, so we go over that as far as an assessment too. But the anatomy is the most important thing. Cadaver classes.
Cadaver classes, no,
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. What new trends or what trends are you seeing right now in the market that are great for the industry that you recommend to your patients or that you like to use a lot?
Part of it is skincare, and part of it is, it's not so much a new trend, but it's off-label for many things, but Sculptra is a Galderma product that is a beautiful product for rejuvenating skin, no matter what. It's just a collagen stimulant. That's all it is a collagen stimulant, and it just can renew a lot of things that are getting older as we're moving along, aside from putting back beautiful volume in the face. And temples are dangerous, and one thing about Sculptra is that it's consistency of water because it's a suspension, so it's one of the safer things to put into the temple. People inject all sorts of things, but there's a lot of disagreement as to, are you superficial, are you deep, but Sculptra can go absolutely anywhere, and it's just a really product that makes people look more youthful.
Are you using a lot of like PRP now, RPF, those things?
I have never gotten on that bandwagon because I know that in some cases they're effective, and people have mixed them with hyaluronic acids to get a better effect. I think the things that I've done are more effective than doing PRP, because I know a lot of people do PRP for dark circles, and it's better for maybe 3 weeks, and then it's kind of back to normal. And if you think about PRP, which I've had on my knee and was really, really good, but there was something broken. There was something wrong when you put it under your skin. I don't see that there's anything really wrong in there, so I don't think the PRP has a lot of effect. A lot of arguments about that. I know that I will get a lot of pushback with that, but that's kind of why I don't really get into that. And in Florida, the estheticians, now I know it's happening, but they're not supposed to be microneedling anything into the skin. So ours don't here, because I'm very strict as far as what laws we're going to follow. But that's a very common procedure, is do PRP and microneedle it. That might be beneficial because now you've got a little dermal wound, but we don't do that here.
When a provider trains with you, what can they expect or what can they get out of that?
What they can get out is first the anatomy, which is really important, and then any techniques that we have for marketing or just making sure your patients are referring you to somebody else. We get a lot of that too. But the most important thing that I think is that they make sure the person looks appropriate. We don't want to make some 65-year-old woman huge lips, because people will focus on that and that's what they think they need, but it isn't. They need something that's very appropriate for them. And the appropriation is what I think is really more important, and they learn that. But the anatomy's first, always.
Yeah, so it's more like a facial balancing.
Exactly. Balancing is the word that I use most often. It really is, because there's a lot of people that have, let's say, a heavy jaw here, nothing up here. When you put something up here, then you're going to get that balance back. And learning what people look like and what they could look better with, but not overdone, and still see the whole presentation as a whole, that's what they really need to learn, and they do. For the most part. And I still, again, I follow up with people before I train for the companies too, because they definitely are allowed to ask me anything.
Nice. I'm sure they gain a lot of knowledge from you knowing so many different things and outcomes.
I hope so. Yeah,
Yes.
I hope so. That's kind of my goal, to make sure.
Nice. What do you provide in your spa now? What type of services do you provide in your spa?
In the med spa, we do some lasers, and we do all fillers. And the Sculptra for the entire body, including the butt, because the butt's gotten kind of popular, especially down where you are. And the lasers are some rejuvenation. We don't do laser hair anymore. And then in this whole facility, we do a big salon. I'll take in a quick tour when we're done. A big salon and a lot of straightening, colors, extensions. Spa, we do all the spa services also, like pedicure, manicure, nails, and massage.
Wow. And what lessons have you learned with owning your own business that other providers that maybe want to start their own business can look out for?
Well, I have partners, thankfully, and because otherwise it's a lot of work. And owning your own business is important to be hands-on in all aspects of it, including financials, what you're buying, what you're selling, and keeping your staff happy and working for you. That's really what's your staff has to want to be here, and you want to make sure that the patient or the guest has the best experience possible. We are a 5-star facility, and that is the goal, to make sure they have the best experience possible, no matter what it is. So if it's me and something medical, to make sure that they look as perfect as they can when they go. And if they've had a really good experience in the salon or the spa, that is our most important thing. Seamless from the check-in to the checkout, to the valet, to everything.
Wow, yeah, so really having that white glove service, it's more than just, I'm going to an office, not like a doctor's office. Right. It's more than that.
So it's been different. I haven't been in a medical office in this type of practice ever. Yeah. So it's been different. I have done family practice before, but I didn't do aesthetics then. And this is just, it's kind of easy. I think, than being, because you have a whole big variety of people to intermingle with. Yeah. But it's been great for us, and I really do love the partners and the way this has grown.
Nice. Cannula versus needle.
All right, I have just really adopted cannula. I know that a lot of my colleagues, some are just total cannula. Some physicians I know are total needle, and I think they both have their place. Like for under eye treatment, I've totally moved to cannula. Unless you're right here in the corner, then you kind of have to use a needle because you can't get up there. For the temples and for like Sculptra, I still use a needle because it's just more effective, and I'm actually very good at it and very fast. But cannulas do have their part. However, a lot of people, when you're starting a cannula and they've had a needle, they get queasy because it's weird. You've got your cannula going in, and it's going in all sorts of different directions, kind of forcing its way through. So that, the syncopal episodes are a little more common with a cannula, so, we always try to avoid those.
Nice. How have you been able to brand yourself and kind of have a longevity in your career?
I think it's been interesting with the support I've had from the pharmaceutical companies and the ability to train and to meet so many different people. My husband has been integral in the past. We've done YouTubes and we've done different things to try to just let people know what's out there. And so my branding could always be improved upon. But as far as Dr. Bonnie Marting, and here we have to make sure you say nurse practitioner, it has been just a combination of all these things, and the writings and the speaking and the books and different things, and the fact that so my reputation here in Palm Beach is I don't overdo anybody ever, and that's, you see a lot, especially over on the island. They're like, oh my gosh, did you see so and so? And that's not me. I'm very conservative. So when people are referred to me from somebody over there, they're like, well, everybody over there says that we have to come to you because you're not going to overdo it. You're not going to make somebody look funny. You're just not going to do those things.
All right, cool. I think we're...
Hi, nice to meet you. Hi.
Anushka? Anna? Can you come
Yes.
just one moment? Yes. This is our founder.
Oh, wow.
Okay, what's the name?
Very pleased to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Yes, Kevin.
Nice to meet you.
This is our founder. She started.
I'm
not going to date her though either. So.
I started in trouble.
I love it. I love this one. It's amazing.
And everybody else is the star because they are. Nobody without.
Definitely. So nice meeting you. Thank you.
Love you to meet you.